Its blessings that follow with that. Today, we're going to finish some of what we talked about. And first of all, welcome to the Islamic Perspective Hour. Imam Tamir here, today's host. And we are going to finish. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
I think your mic needs to go up a little high. You don't have that to turn it off.
Excuse me, audience, 1 second. Make a little adjustment here.
You know what? Can have them close with. Because what happens and it rubs up against your beard
And make the noises.
Yeah.
How about on the zip?
You put it right on your throat, just pinch your pillow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little better. That's better. All right, alhamdulillah. So, yes, we were talking about and discussing about sovereignty. Sovereignty. And first of all, we have to recognize that the true sovereign is Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once we get that in focus, then things can properly unfold as to how that is to be placed, meaning that how it is to be placed in our lives, affected in our lives. The dictionary's definition of sovereign is one possessing the supreme power once again, that one possessing the supreme, it said a state of affairs, state government, etc. But when we look at this expression, and we can clearly see that the only one, the only entity that possesses this kind of power is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Supreme power, possessing supreme power. Highest, the supreme power or authority, having independent authority. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's rule is independent. Yes, sir.
Sujal
Walik Ram. And I got another one for you on that. Matter of fact, because when we express or perceive this definition of sovereign, our translation for it is al-Maliku. So al-Malik is a name of the all-powerful being who is sovereign, the king, the ruler of all creations. Literally, the word Malik means king. It is one of the attributes of Allah, which means the king of all kings. Allah is the sole, Allah is the sole sovereign of the whole human race. He is the maker of all created things. He is the true ruler of this entire world, but over all other worlds and creations. He is the one and the only real king who will remain forever and who rules not merely over the bodies of all beings, but even over their hearts and spirits. Hence, he is called Al-Malik. And so to that we say, when we think about kings on the physical level, and you think about the subjects of the kings and how they worship the king or glorify the king, etc. And the reason why we have this expression here, this definition like that, is because when the human being were given their obedience to these so-called kings, these so-called leaders, they were performing the same ritualistic acts performed for Allah only. So they're bowing and putting their heads to the floor and lowering themselves in a state of humility before another human being. But this is something that is only for Allah.
Take him out of his human thought.
Exactly. And remember, it's the language that they use. And it's the language that they borrowed, substituted, or stolen from Allah. Remember, that pure statement, that is attributed to Allah. Allah is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the ruler, the maker, the sustainer. And so when we talked about Friday, and I use the expression Allahu Akbar because we use it and it's so common. But sometimes we don't think about why Allah give us these kind of expressions that we use on a daily basis that we come to take for granted and we don't give a lot of thought to it. That whole Akbar concept is something that we should always be aware of because we are all victim of it for it. What do we mean by that? I mentioned the term Friday. It's called the God complex, where you become so influential or you amass an amount of power, and it might be due to your physical wealth, till you think that you are you're unstoppable. You think that you can do anything. Yeah, your absolute power. And this is what the human being, especially here in America, has been reduced to that type of thinking to the point that now the whole culture, the whole economy, the whole American economy is about getting the dollar because they think the dollar will buy them power. So you have individuals now who used to seek wealth to not only enrich themselves or their families, but they would help others. Now they want wealth for status. Anybody that has what we would call any serious wealth, they're not satisfied until one of the media magazines dubs them as a billionaire. Case in point, Beyonce just reached the status of billionaire. From her sales of her records, et cetera, she's a billionaire. Her husband, Jay-Z, has already, he reached, the question becomes, well, so what? They billionaires. And how does that affect? Keep in mind, we just mentioned now, they are swapping for power. They'll give you a certain amount of power if you have the money to support it, to sustain it. You have to have the money to support it and to sustain it. If you can't keep it going, they're not going to let you play the game. So we take a full 360, and we jump to this part that I mentioned in the Khutbah Friday. This is how we become the slaves to materialism. We become the slaves to materialism because we are into that culture and we have lost or disconnected ourselves from the culture. So now the same slave habits that we had as slaves, they're more profound now because they're confused and mixed in this thing that we call freedom. Sometimes your freedom can be so extreme that you enter into a state of slavery and you don't even know it. Case in point, how do we know this? It's called give, or you give yourself into a thing. You become so wrapped up in it till it totally consumes you. Here's a good point I want to mention that we can tie this all in to show you specifically the slave mentality that we have as a people and how it still exists. And one of the impetus behind this that made me even kind of come up with the talk as I was reflecting. December 25th is the Christian holiday that they call Christmas. And although, and it was pointed out by a brother, he was speaking, and I heard him mention this, and I thought about it, and it's true. Although you don't see the celebratory parts as much, the outward lights, the physical part as much as we used to, every block used to be lit up, you're seeing less and less and less of that. That's because, as they say, the narrative has been twisted, and they have gotten the people more into actual consumerism than into the spirit of gift giving. Listen to this, the spirit. Our spirit, the spirit of gift giving, something that Allah Ta'ala gives us. And this is what made that holiday so wholesome at one point in time, especially for those of us who came from the Christian background. We can remember, we can recall when this holiday had a more wholesomeness to it. There was this spiritual component to it that we kind of rallied around. But now that the commercialism has come in and taken all this away, the people have been desensitized to the spiritual part. So now it's all about how extravagant a gift I can get to give. How much money can I really just dole out? And they have the statisticians every year. They come out and they tell you how much money the people spent on the holiday. But
First.
yes.
Yeah.
How much is it? And then they come up with the mechanisms to make it come true. So the funnel gets narrowed now. We're coming down to the funnel, to the narrow part, this part that gets squeezed out. The day after Christmas, we talked about this, you got Kwanzaa, 6 days. Keep in mind, Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday. It was never intended to be a religious holiday. It was never intended to be a substitute for Christmas or any holiday. Dr. Karanga, Maulana Karanga, when he founded this concept, this practice, it really had to do with instilling a moral compass back in our people. When I read those principles Friday and didn't give the name to them until afterwards, and everybody was able to identify with it, that was the point that he wanted to make. We have lost our moral compass. And it came to him when he was in college in the 60s and 70s, when it was very volatile. The civil rights era was very volatile between 65 and 75, very volatile. You all know the history of the violence that was going on, and a lot of it was coming from really just police brutality. But the point being, so he saw this and he witnessed this, and he just thought to himself that I would like to make a small contribution in the carbon footprint of human development. And so he set out the task of studying and interviewing, and he came up with those concepts. And the language that he used, which we call Swahili, is heavily grounded in Arabic, as is most African dialects, are heavily grounded and influenced in Arabic. And why? Because that's how the Quran went. That's how it spread it. And remember, we made the point that the Quran is of the nature. The Quran is the book that lends itself to everything, but nothing gives itself to it. So this is why we can find these different dialects in the different languages, and a lot of it is influenced by Arabic, because that's how powerful and that's how Allah had designed His word, that it would reach the people like that. So I'm referencing now, and I'm looking in my mind, and I'm like, okay, 6 days, and we have these principles that we're trying to follow in these 6 days. 7 days. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, because they normally don't count January 1st. It really kind of ends it. So it gives us kind of almost a 6-day celebration.
January 1st is the last day of Kwanzaa.
January 1st. And that's how we get 7? Excellent. Okay. I don't know why I missed that last day. But once again, so we have these celebrations, and we have them going on, and they're instilling this moral content and putting us back in content with this moral content. And our people are not even interested in it. And I think that's one of many points I want to stress and make, that how we can give so much attention to one day that science has told us, history has told us, our spiritual development has told us. At first, it has nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. He was not born December 25th. And then all of the other dynamics that come along with that makes it almost unfit for a religious or spiritual practice. But our people are locked into it. Why? Slave mentality. The slave mentality. And this subconscious ability to not want to displease the master. For some reason, it's still ingrained in us to be cautious when we set out to do things, to not cross that line where we offend massa. Because if we wake massa up, massa gonna come and he's gonna spank you, he's gonna punish you, he's gonna do stuff to you. And to that point, an individual brought up a wonderful observation. And he said, this is why all of our civil rights groups are ineffective. Because first of all, they all been infiltrated by Zionists. Go through them yourself. All the top echelon, all the leadership, or whoever handles the money, it's everybody but us. It's everybody but us. If you study all of the civil rights groups, and with all of the civil rights groups that we had in this country, why are we still in the same condition? Why has very little or no progress been made? Because when we get to the real substantive part that impacts people, that makes stuff move, that's when the infiltrators come in and sabotage and take you in another direction. And they tell you, no, you know, you don't need freedom like that. You just need a little freedom to do a couple of things here, but you don't need a broad-based freedom, because that kind of freedom will free your soul. So they don't want you to have that. So they make sure that all of those things are given to you as a source of distraction. We got February coming up, a whole month to give recognition in a celebratory spirit to the African American historical experience. And for the most part, we waste a lot of time. We don't get off into the activities like we should. The reason why we're able to pinpoint and know these things, because all you got to do is look back 1 or 2 generations. And you don't see our people, you don't see our children, you don't see our grandchildren getting into this like they should. And there's a reason for that. And it's because we have not embraced that culture. We are so quick to run away from anything that points to our historical connection to Africa. As soon as something's introduced, we have a mental block. Just like a lot of the population was subconsciously trained that when they hear this term Islam, when they hear Muhammad, something locks their brain. A lot of non-Muslims, they've been conditioned that way. You say Islam, you say Muslim, and the waves just get locked up. The whole reasoning box just gets locked up. And so then you try to penetrate, and you try to instill in them, you're trying to tell them about the religion, and it might get this close. But then it becomes like the water on the duck's back. It just rolls right off. And this is what's happening to our people. This principle of Kwanzaa is addressing that. And it's telling us that we have to come into a real moral content, because we're dying as a lack of it. We're dying spiritually because we have not engaged ourselves into the moral content that is so necessary for our survival, for our survival. It's taking us back, and it's hurting us in a way that we can't hardly even realize or visualize progress once again for those coming behind us. Now, we don't mention these things, and I always have to justify and qualify this. We don't say these things to preach a doomsday talk. These are observations, and these are things that we should be aware of as individuals and as a collective body. Because the collective body is where we get the blessings. The group is where we get the blessings. Individually, yes, we get them. But Allah moves through the collective. And when we see the collective coming together and we see the collective producing like it needs to produce, as they say, we're going to be on easy street. We'll have all the things that we need. So back to the sovereignty. So Allah manifests this sovereignty, and he gives us this attribute in our own selves for us to recognize. You ever talk to a person and they'll tell you, I'm a sovereign citizen? There were some Muslims used to do this. They used to do this, as they say, back in the day. They do it Yeah, and they say I'm sovereign, and they would exempt themselves from most of American laws and taxes and stuff, and get away with it. Now, the question becomes, how is that possible? Well, they'll let a few individuals do that, as they say, that's the American way. But if we did as a collective group, they'd come in and try, and they would crush us. They would just crush us, because the IRS itself is not a government agency. It's a tax collecting agency that uses the government's name. But we haven't had real tax representation and collection since 1921. That's when the Federal Reserve was born. And the Federal Reserve, that's a smoke and mirror name. It has nothing to do with federation or government federation, regulation, or nothing like that. Everybody knows that the Federal Reserve are bankers, the world's largest and biggest bankers, who have come together and they come up with plots and plans of how to tie other people's economies up, i.e., Venezuela. And here's the connecting point about the sovereignty, and which is once again why the whole subject came up in my heart. How are you going to tell another color? You don't have no proof of them bringing the kind of drugs in that you're mentioning. You say another country got 25 million people, gangsters, thugs, social misfits, and they have come to America. That's a lot of people. Now, we would be able to find 25 million miscreants. We would be able to find them. It wouldn't be that hard. So somebody's lying. That's what we got to realize. Somebody's lying. And so here's the real deal behind the Venezuelan takeover. Venezuela got more oil and more minerals than most countries in Africa. And so by being closer here than having to go to Africa, it just makes criminal sense for the criminal to go and take the oil or take the country. So you don't have to go overseas and fight a whole nother continent, because the whole continent of Africa is raising up. And they say we're done with colonial rule. And they're making moves and they're taking stands and they're showing this. But you wouldn't know this here in America because our media is controlled by the very entities that we're talking about. Those oligarchs, those super rich people have bought up all the media, and now they control the narrative. So how many people were aware and had knowledge and knew that Venezuela was rich like that? And for that matter, so was Haiti. They talked about Haiti and said it's poor and backwards country. Haiti got diamonds, minerals, oil. The country of Haiti is extremely rich. Don't be fooled. The colonial powers want to control the riches. And so they create the narrative, and they would tell us that it's all downtrodden, it's poor, and it's this, that, and the other, while they going out the back door with all the riches. I've been to Haiti. I've seen the country. It's beautiful. I didn't see those ghettos that they talked about. I saw people in their normal attire, going about their normal day, working, producing, and doing all of the good things that a person in their country would do. So why is this drama draped on Haiti? You got to remember. Go ahead, brother. You know the answer. Yes.
Hey, Tucson oldest children. He made a clown out of Napoleon. And so this is some of that's why they're gonna come up, because he used a lot of psychology on Napoleon.
That is a good part of the history. Yeah, the Haitians, in their quest for independence, were able to starve off a lot of the colonial powers. And not only that, they were very influential to other African nations or other African peoples. Because when they saw that, and they saw that, hey, we too can rise up, this is what the enemy don't want. He don't want a replication. He don't want a duplication. And this is one of the reasons why they are addressing the issue of banning all books. Because they want you to be dependent on the internet. And everybody think that the internet is just so truthful and so accurate. If it was, if it was all of that, then why are they coming after the books? Because the books have most of the accuracy in it. And the books contain the history, the books contain the real knowledge that you need. And the books have not been altered yet. So they don't have the wherewithal to do that. So they want to do like King Constantine did in the 3rd century. Pull all the bits of knowledge together that he could find on Jesus, and he burned it. And then he told all of those people that was there, all those religious scholars, how they was going to teach and how they was going to preach, how they was going to come under his command, his fold, and boom, they set out the world, and we have what we have today. The expression of that form of Christianity that we have today is really because of that Council of Nicaea. Yes, brother.
So he decided to say, we're gonna teach about the person, not his message.
No, they didn't want the message, right? And they even distorted the person. Everything that they could do to distort the message of Jesus, they did. And actually, as the history reports, Saul, who became Paul, was a big part of that. We mentioned this before. Paul never met Jesus. He never met him. The closest he got to Jesus is his trip with Barnabas. And Barnabas was the last one with Jesus. And when Jesus left the scene, Barnabas had most of the knowledge that Jesus had left. And that's why in the New Testament, you don't find the book of Barnabas. They took it out. You got to go read the Old Testament. If you read the Old Testament, then you get a more accurate picture of how the Torah is even situated. Because Old Testament was pretty much regulated and influenced by the Torah. So with that being said, dear Muslims and dear believers, I want to switch gears on you because this information, the way we perceive it, is going to have a whole lot to do with the way we think. Actually, it has everything to do with the way we think. So I want to share with you why I even posed that. This is some information I collected from I call him my newspaper media doctor, Dr. Nuruddin. One time I collected an article from him that I go to at least once a year to read it for myself. And every few years I share with the community because I knew people coming in, folks might have forgotten. So please bear with me. This is about the positive self-image. It's a key to great health. Once again, your positive self-image is a key to great health. You will be about as young as your self-image thinks you are. And the state of mind will guide you to manifest the physical state that will be its correspondent. Choices determine our life. Choices can carry with them at the extremes life and death. If we believe we're old, then the cellular structure of the body will conform to the belief. I'm going to read that again because this is so true. If we believe we are old, the cellular structure of the body will conform to the belief. In believing we are old, the vibrations of the thought will restrict vital metabolic processes at the cellular level. It is because our cells are actually told what to do. Just like that's why they have what they call it, meditation, which is really just a bastard form of prayer. Yeah, to meditate. You will find that you will fare better if you just prayed, made dua, or got into a mode of prayer. Because when you're meditating, it has limitations and it's not always spiritually directed. Meditation is more psychologically directed. It's for your psychology, it's for your psyche. And you want to bring some balance and you want to get it back to conform and burning on good fuel again. But it's the thought process that controls all of that. We talk to our bodies every second of the day. And the body, through vibration, accepts your information and molds itself to it. If you imagine yourself as old, you are old because of what you think about yourself. Your cells will then conform to what you think about them. There's a substance in your body, and at its essence, it's energy and information. You, as a physical body, are energy and information functioning as a human body. Oh, that's beautiful. Check this out for you scientists. Quantum physics. It tells us at the ground state of the energy and information that all matter is formed in consciousness. And this is how Allah has done it. Allah consciously formed everything. What they call the Big Bang and how the universal order came together, we can't subscribe to that. We have to believe that Allah was conscious and knew and knows everything that's being done, that's being given. And we experience that same thing in our existence. So, consciousness is a field of all possibilities in terms of substance taking on form. What determines the forms are the thoughts or impressions coming to your mind. If you're being told about the quantum field, if what we're being told about the quantum field is true, then the energy and information that make up your cells can and will be influenced by your predominant mental attitude and self-image. How do we know this? We get in the mirror every day. Most of us are going to look in the mirror before we leave the house. Make sure we're presentable. You know, you want to make sure you want to go out here and you're not unkempt and just looking any old kind of way. Everybody has a self-image, or how they perceive themselves and how they think that the self should look. And pretty much that's what the mirror's for. But if you look in the mirror and you deny the image that you see, you lie to yourself, oh, now we got problems. And so this is what we're doing today. So I revert back to what we talked about earlier. This is that slave mentality. We're looking in the mirror. We're not seeing the free man, the free woman. We're looking in the mirror and we see the slave. We still see the slave. And that's why we act like the slave, because we tell ourselves. The cellular structure in the body. We are commanding, we're telling them, look, hey, cells, autoimmune system, organs, we still slaves. We're going to feed off the system and act like the system is just that, a system of slavery. And we conform to that. So that's why I want to share this article, because it is true, you are what you eat. Meaning that the body of knowledge that you take in, you're going to conform to that. So what determines the forms are the thoughts or impressions coming to your mind. If we're being told about the quantum field, next line. Sickly thoughts. Your cells will conform to the impressions of those thoughts because your thoughts are created. Sickness will be created in your body. Simple. Real simple. Profound, but yet simple. Yeah. We create all of the time. Our body is creating all of the time. Every 27 to 28 days, you got a new layer of skin. Body's constantly doing things. Everything in the body has turned over, has been given a new leaf or a new life, so to speak, every 28 days. So the body is constantly doing it. If you don't monitor that, if you're not paying attention to that, those conditions, then they can go awry. And this is what causes the illness and disease that we experience, because we stop paying attention, we stop listening to our own self. Oh, that's cool. You stop listening to your own self, your nafs. The self, the nafs is the self. You stop listening to it. And just like any organ on the body, if it's not properly used and used often and used the way Allah designed it to be used, then there's going to be conflict. There's going to be problems. So if the nose is telling you, hey man, hey girl, you gotta put some deodorant on, and you say, I ain't got time, gotta do this, gotta do that. Then the nose come back and tell you, say, hey, you gotta put some deodorant on. I ain't got time. Then the nose come back another time. God.
Yeah.
Then it come back another time and just say, don't tell you nothing. Nose don't tell you nothing. You out here like wild oats. You man.
I was program about the 50 years of Black entertainment in America. Black people, I think, Black people. And, you know, they were interviewing different people throughout history. They were just telling them about how the progression of Black entertainment started, went all the way back to 1921, all the way to the 80s or something like that. And 70s and 80s. One of the people there is quote Robert. And what he was saying, I can't remember the question that was asked of him about his success. And I think it was how did he manage to be so successful? And he basically was saying it's also your positive thinking. It's the way you think. And he went in a little bit about his history about when he was a young boy. You know, his mother died when he was 10, and he was raised by his older sister. And he always, you know, believed that he had some potential to be, you know, greater than what he was. So he always had this positive thinking. And one of the things that he had said, he said, this whole universe is a positive thing. He said, I don't believe in that dang big blowing up somewhere and the creation came into existence. You pull from that strength.
Yes. And the reason why one would not believe in it is a choice. Because Allah manifests his existence in everything and everywhere. And there's nothing in the universe that you can look at where you can connect it to Allah. So to not be able to connect it to Allah is by choice. You have disconnected yourself. You are not trying to establish a relationship, as they say, with your Lord.
He said he always believed there's a higher power. I definitely always believed there was a higher power. And I'm trying to think of the word that Jesus said, referring to or presumption what you just said. You know, you're thinking. I'm not sure the quote that he said. It said, as a man
Thinketh, so is he. That's right. That's right. You're going to be negative. Yeah. And think how simple that is. But once again, so profound. Because when we apply it on a symbolic level, we attach another meaning to it as what you put into your mind is going to influence you. So when we're talking about eating, we're not just talking about the physical food, but what you feed yourself mentally. Yeah, that mental diet is very important. So if your diet, your mental diet, and your spiritual diet is one of garbage, what the computer language say, garbage in, garbage out. Yes.
That's a good title for the book we recently put out. How to Eat to Live.
How to eat to live. Yes, yes, yes. Our choices are too often predicated on our dominant mental attitude. Poor choices relevant to food, relationships, or beliefs can, and in most cases, are dictated by our environmental factors if we are not directed by self-suggestion. Most people think they tell themselves what to think. However, this is not true. Most people think based upon the outer world telling them what to think. The outer world consists of all stimuli from books to media to professors, etc. Most people are not directed from the spiritual internal world or the kingdom of heaven. Most people have not found it. The Bible says, first, seek ye the kingdom, which means you must first find it before the other things can be added unto you, which we believe to be health, wealth, and happiness. It's unfortunate that the masses have not been able to find this place within them. And it is equally unfortunate that many people have become so damaged as a thinking entity that they may never find it, leaving the life to one of chronic sickness, weakness, and unhappiness. And this is the state that most of the country, most of the world is in now, one of sickness, chronic sickness, weakness, and just always unhappy, just always unhappy. And to their own detriment, because Allah has already provided all of the means for you to attain happiness. And He has given us limited free will of choice. And so if the individual, if the person chooses not to indulge in the happiness that Allah has spread it all around, then shame on them. There's really nothing that can be done. There's really nothing that can be done, because Allah, if Allah tells us like redeem, that there's no compulsion in religion, that you can't coerce a person, then that rule, that principle applies across the board to everything. I can't force you. I can't force your belief. I can't force you. We can trick you. We can lie to you. But the force, those days are over. Most of the people that was subjected to force, they're dead as a result of resisting that force. So we want to conclude on this part of this, and then we want to, I'm going to go back and share some Quran. Throughout the Quran and the life of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah and His Messenger are suggesting peace as the dominant state of your mind. So this was instilled in the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah put this whole concept of peace, and we talked about that a few weeks ago. The word salam, coming the word salima, what it means, how this whole process of peace is so fulfilling that anybody not wanting or not having the desire for it, you're on the path of self-destruction. Because outside of peace, there is no existence. If you don't have peace, you don't have nothing. And there's different levels of peace. That's why sometimes we'll recognize something in a space or in another area as peace, but that same principle can exist in another part or another area, and we won't see it as such. Because we have to understand that the process of peace is universal. So the suggestion is there for the benefit of your own soul, and it can help keep stress out of your life. Once again, the vibrations. You know, you ever talk to somebody, and we used to have this expression, you know, we vibing. You know, I got a bad vibe. We set off vibrations like that. And babies are more susceptible to that than anyone. Why? Allah gives them that as a sense of security, because they can't talk. They can't talk. So they feel a vibe, and they let it be known by expressing it in their emotions of crying. You know, different kinds of crying. Babies have their own language. It's six main words that a baby say all the time, and it lets you know what state they're in. They got a certain cry when they're hungry. They got a certain cry when they want to be clean. They got a certain cry when they want attention. And it's a universal language. It's a universal cry. Every baby has that cry. Go study it. Every baby, if you a Chinese baby, a German baby.
On you too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They can get a vibe, and it's because they don't have the mental acumen to express danger. So Allah clocked that in them. He gives them a sensitivity. And then we grow with that sensitivity into adolescence, adulthood, etc. It's just that by the time we reach adulthood, the distractions of the world have pounded us so that we lost that connection. And so what we was talking about earlier, the whole principle of Kwanzaa, the whole Advent, the whole push for Al-Islam is to make sure we keep our moral compass intact. That's the greatest balancing act of the human creature, to keep your moral content intact. When we do that, it checks everything. It checks all the other forces. It lends itself to checking all the other forces. Vibrations of peace and quiet have healthy, liberating effect on our cells. Serenity is an outcome of peaceful thinking. Under the influence of serenity, the process of secretion and elimination are liberated, contributing to the natural metabolic process of the tissue. You ever had what they call a deep tissue massage? Where they just really get in there and rub and they say disturb it. It's not a disturbance, but they're manipulating and moving those tissues. It's, yeah, I had that experience too. But the outcome usually is good. It's good. So that's what this the thoughts do. You're literally pulling it and taking it out of your tissues. When we get upset, when we get angry, these natural processes are restricted, thereby causing the body to retain unwanted matter, toxins, which will lead to imbalance or disease. Wholesome entertainment in moderation is helpful to a healthy state of mind. Nostalgia and wholesome humor is very good for your soul and your body. And to that point, dear believers, we really should be conscious of smiling more. We really would. We should. We should find things to laugh. Oh, I thought I turned this off. We should find things to laugh about that are funny every day. It acts as a tonic for our cells. Laughter will burn poison from your soul. A good comedian can be a blessing from Allah. However, jokes that are in bad taste carry negative vibrations. So, we wouldn't necessarily get up there and put an album on by Richard Pryor, Red Fox, or anything like that. Sister, yes?
Doctors are saying that laughing is very good for your blood pressure.
Everything. It takes several hundred muscles to create a frown. It takes 3 muscles to make you smile. And most of the times you're not even aware of it. You don't even feel it. But when you are tense and angry, you can feel it all. You can feel the stress. You can feel the pull on your skin. You can feel the tightness and everything. You can feel the vibrations in your body. You can feel all of that. This is why, yes, go ahead. I want you.
Dopamine that comes out in the laughter.
Okay. Well, and that's where they got the word dope from, because we got the dopamine in our body that produces a euphoric situation when it's tapped. When it's tapped, when it's properly tapped. What is this so-called proper tapping? It's knowledge. It's knowledge. We hear this expression often in the Quran, almost at a lot of the end of ayats where Allah says, Yahlamun, Tahlamun. We talked about this before, that Tahlamun is really, he's just telling, because it's from the word alam, alama, knowledge. And so every time you read that in the Quran or that is mentioned, an appeal is being made specifically to your intellect. That's what that expression is for. So Allah is letting you know the essence of the Quran is to appeal to your intellect, to address your intellect, to make it strong, to give it a life, to make sure that it's set up where it will protect the physical body. All of this comes from having a good, healthy knowledge of Quran. So once again, laughter. We should find reasons to laugh, to, as they say, tickle each other's funny bones every now and then. It's healthy. It nurtures good relationships amongst us, and it brings us together. Yes, sir.
I never heard it speak, but we have somebody in our community called Allah Made Me Funny. What's his name?
Preacher Moss.
Have you ever heard?
Preacher Moss is good. There's a young man on YouTube, Marcus Wiley. I haven't heard a good comedian make me laugh without cussing since Bill Cosby when I was a kid. Yeah. This guy, he really, really, yeah, Marcus Wiley, I'm giving him a plug. You owe me some money, whoever you are. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but that kind of persuasion, that kind of influence is what we got to get back to. Yeah. Matter of fact, I got to give Imam Tariq a plug. Have you all heard his music?
No.
Yeah, I just got a chance to hear it. Someone had sent it to me, and I played some of the tracks, and I was quite impressed. I was quite impressed. But my point is, that kind of culture, that kind of music is what we got to get back to. These beats that are out here, you know, I play music. The same beat that they play to capture you, and then subliminally suggest to you the lyrics. Yeah. We can use that same beat and put in positive lyrics. You know, we learned that in Christianity. That when you can sing good songs about God and they don't always have to sound boring. You know, that can be done. But they got the society thinking that you gotta have nasty lyrics with the funkiest beat. You gotta have the nastiest lyrics. And to that point, speaking of entertainment, we got this one of the entertainers, his name is Chris Brown. Chris Brown has been touted as the new Michael Jackson. They try to equate him with Michael Jackson's greatness in terms of talent. I thought about that for a couple of seconds. I said, no, I'm gonna tell you why. Now, he might have some good music, but Michael never made records demeaning women, calling them all kind of nasty names and what he would do to them sexually. Michael didn't produce no music like that. So I don't even really think, Brother Brown, that you're in his league if you ever get a chance to hear this message. You're not in Michael's league. Michael produced thoughtful music, you know, music that made you think, music that was positive, a lot of message in the music. You know, that song, They Don't Care About Us, that's powerful. He got in trouble for that. Yeah, they don't care about us. He got in trouble for that because he was telling the truth. He was speaking truth to power, and they came at him. I mean, it's a lot of stuff we could talk about, Michael. I don't want to go on that tangent, even about his whole dying. That's a whole nother talk. Yes.
In that group that you was talking about, I don't think any of them talk down about women.
Most of the Motown artists, because when you go back to your Impressions and your Temptations and your Four Tops, etc., OJs, we just keep going down the list. All of these groups, they had positive talent. They had positive message in their music. Yeah. The Delphonics, yeah, all that, just good music, good wholesome music. And we've been tricked. Well, not us per se, but the world, we've been tricked now into thinking once again that your best music, it must have the filthiest of lyrics.
A lot of it was activism.
Yes. Yes.
Quick comment of other, has anyone ever seen this movie by Eddie Murphy, Mr. Church?
Yes. Yes.
I saw that movie over some years back, and I was surprised.
That's the best movie he ever made. The best movie he ever made. If you have not seen it, you need to go and watch it. He plays a, yeah.
It was telling him a woman had cancer.
Yeah.
And, you know, he cooked for it and cleaned and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then how he gets the name Mr. Church is interesting. Yeah, it has to do with the character and how he came to be. Yeah, you gotta. There's something. It's an Islamically influenced movie, in my opinion. You know, it's something worth watching. So, in conclusion, all music has a vibratory rate in it. Some sounds are soothing and some are irritating. Too much loud noise can make one drunk by disturbing the chemistry in the brain. And this has been proven time and time, over and over again. If I lock you in a room and I fill the speakers or fill that room up with what they call acid rock, your brain would be mush after a few hours. because it is not designed for that. It's not designed for that. Your brain, our brains, when it comes to musical acceptance, it falls on the same plane as a jazz aficionado. So you don't have to like jazz to appreciate it. And that same rhythm, check this out, that same rhythm that we find in jazz, you will find in Quranic recitation. And that's why jazz is so universal. That's why it's so acceptable. That's why everything comes from jazz. Yes, sir.
You know, a lot of jazz musicians have Islamic names.
Yeah. Ahmed Jamal, even the ones that didn't take on the names, that were heavily influenced by Islam. Yeah, yeah. Once again, because they were able to see the Quran in their music. This is why Allah tells us to recite the Quran with a rhythm. And this is what makes us retain memory of the Quran because of the rhythm. The best way to teach a child is how? With nursery rhymes. You teach them through music, and they retain it. So Allah understood that, yes.
I was just thinking about, the trajectory of our music when the rap music came into existence. At first, it was telling a story. It was more militant, and the companies made them have to focus more on the belittling of women.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about police and what was happening in the neighborhood. Enlightening people. We all knew.
And it's done by design because they know, and the Imam said it best, words make people. They been knew that. So what they did, so they put that out there really for us to tear us down.
What they have psychologically done and
been very effective.
Cigarettes and
Yes, they've been very. It goes back to what we was talking about earlier. They have been able to really put us back on a path of slavery with the very things that's supposed to entertain us and free us and give us peace. That's what we mean by when Allah designs a thing, Satan designs the like of it, or Satan's design or plan is always the opposite of what Allah gives.
And so if science can put the heavy acid rock music on some flowers.
And they die.
Put the symphonic on that and they thrive.
And they thrive. Yeah. Vibrations. Sounds. Remember. Yeah. And to that point, this is why it's embedded in our recitation when we say, Ameen. Pay attention to that the next time when you do that. And it's by design supposed to be held for a length of time, at least 4 counts. Ameen. Most of Arabic, when it's being recited, is held up to 4 counts. It's a 4-count beat.
You can really feel it when it's in group.
Yes, yes. You feel that, yeah. You can feel it, yeah. The vibration from the collective group when we're praying, when we do that, it's healing. It's healing. Yes, sir.
Allah, they come from the throat. Allah.
And your point.
That's the feeling.
Oh, yeah. No, I get now I understand even more what you're saying. And I just thought about that as you were saying it. That's pretty deep, brother. Allah, when we mention Allah, when we mention Quranic references, it produces vibrations. It has an effect on us. And this is why we're told read Quran daily. Not only just for your own protection, but your own preservation and for your progress. Read Quran daily. Now, for some, they may not be able to physically hold the book, but but then you go back to what the word qara means. It means that which is recited. So you don't necessarily have to pick the physical book up to say, I'm reading the Quran every day. It is telling you, it is inferencing, I should say, the ability for memorization. It is in a real subtle kind of way, it's telling you, okay, You don't have the physical book with you all the time, but you can have a portion with you all the time by memorizing. So these are subtle instructions, just like in our prayer in Salat. It's a built-in health system. It's a built-in health system in our Salat. It teaches you how to manage the movement of your body. It also teaches you how to breathe. It teaches you how to talk. This is what our prayer does. The recitation of the Quran, the actualizing of doing the prayer itself, the physical movement itself, is training the body in ways that we are just unconscious of in many cases. As I used to always bring the subject up about us being in the chairs. We get off these chairs sometimes and we get to the floor, and then you wonder why you can't get up, because you don't have enough relationship with the floor, because we're in the chair too much. Allah did this intentionally, made our prayer, made it that way that we would have a connection to the floor, because in order to get up off that floor, you must exercise a certain amount of strength and flexibility. When you get past 60, that's the most important thing in your life, strength and flexibility, because that's what you lose. A man loses what, 5, 10, 15 pounds of muscle as he ages every year. He gets weaker unless he does something to beef that up and keep it strong. Like I know some 80-year-olds can pump iron. They outwork me. Yeah, I mean they can go, and just rip. I was watching this guy the other day. I couldn't call his name, but just he was in his 80s. He looked like Hercules in his 80s, because he started a habit as a young man and kept it up. Imagine this. Remember now, when we was introduced to the system of Salat, we were just making dua, right? We were just standing there and we was doing this. So most of us were already in our late 20s, 30s, and 40s. Kind of hard now to go back and try to get the flexibility of a child, to sit down and fold your legs up under you. That was difficult for a lot of us. I remember starting out praying on my knees. I couldn't sit back on them. It took a long time. That came after months, years of conditioning and just constantly praying. Then you could sit back on your knees, but that comes from practice. That comes from practice. So when Allah gave us these tools, these spiritual tools, he gave them to us with the intent that we would really look into it and study and get the benefits, because it's an individual benefit. It ain't no one size fits all. You have to go into it. You have to find your niche. You have to find out just how this applies to you. And to that point, this is what Allah tells us in the Quran when he says, you will only practice this religion according to your own disposition. That you're going to practice it to your makeup, how you made up, what influences you, how you think, your education, etc., determines how you live the religion. So if you are self-observing, and you can see these things about yourself, then it stands to reason that you will start to make the necessary corrections. You will start to tweak those things in you that bring about the correction, so that you can put your soul in a favorable condition in place. So we go back to what Imam Omar was addressing us earlier about how that soul, how when it's in the barzakh, the purgatory, in between the heavens and the earth, and just waiting for deliverance to either go through door number 1 or door number 2. It's just waiting to be told. And this is why, and I always mention this at janazas, be very mindful of what you say, because Allah has given hearing to the deaf. That is his last right. That is the last, out of the 5 senses, that's the last one that you get a chance to use before you leave up out of it, before the soul actually just really just separates from the body and takes that journey to be with its Lord. Yeah. It's really something that we should pay close attention to, that the soul that is in that state. And so in the hadith of the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, he admonished the believers, don't wail at the funerals. you know, wailing and just falling all out and crying and jumping in the grave and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's Hollywood. I saw it on a movie. But these things were established as safeguards to protect us. And also because he said, the prophet, President, peace be upon him, he mentioned that there used to be professional wailers. Women, they would come and they was paid money to stir up emotions. They didn't even know the deceased. They come in and just fall out and tears fall all out on the ground, kick your legs up, just put on a show. They were paid to do this, to get everybody emotional. And to that point, this is why at funeral homes today, they pimp your emotions. They get the music and they get the soft talking, and before you know it, boy, you got a big chunk of money. A big chunk of money. Those who are left behind, that's very costly. It has become so commercial. And this is a system that was introduced by the materialists. You're already in a steel box. Now we got to put the steel box in a concrete coffin. The concrete coffin got to be 6 feet in the dirt, and that costs a lot of money. And the beautiful, simple Islamic way, perfume the body, shroud the body, put the body in the ground, make sure it's facing the Kaaba. Allahu Akbar. That's simple. Yeah. 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 It's a blessing that even though, okay, the African Americans didn't found it, that we didn't create it, you know, the immigrants put together that grave site, but it's beautiful that we could have access to something like that and now begin to be buried the Islamic way. Oh, so slave mind, slave habit. You're going to have to not mind and tell your children that that's the kind of burial you want. Because in their mind, they commercialize. They want to put you in the box, put you on display, have the whole emotional show take place, you know, with the repast, the whole 9 yards, and then everybody just go away about their business. Yeah.
Excuse me, where did you get that the last word, reflects?
That's hadith.
Oh, it's hadith.
It's hadith. Yeah, I don't know the exact hadith, but yeah, that's hadith, and it's also I read it in one of my little scholarly Islamic books. I can't. It might be Islam in Focus, or Towards Understanding Islam. Two of my favorite books for reading about the religion: Islam in Focus and Towards Understanding Islam. Two great books that were written by, actually, they were not members of our community. Yeah, but it's a great read. As a matter of fact, I used to give that book to new converts, to new Muslims coming in, because it provided a real broad, general understanding without getting into personalities. Matter of fact, the book explains that. It's telling you why it's written that way, because they didn't want to run the risk of you getting caught up into somebody's personality. So it's well worded. The words are well chosen, very carefully chosen, and I have to agree. In reading it, it frees you from biasness. You don't get tainted with biasness. I read a lot of different Islamic literature, and sometimes people's personality bleed through. Or their little personal persuasion of what it is they're trying to get across or bleed through. So when you read an Islamic material, read it with the consciousness that Allah has given to you. This is why we say Bismillah before we do anything. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim before we do anything. Because you don't know, you think you're reading something good, and the shaitan has slipped something in, you know, and before you know it, you influenced or affected by it. So in condition, we have to be aware that certain languages and notes in music and in the things that we talk about. We have to be aware that when it's out of touch, out of focus, when it's out of whack, it can produce freakish behavior in the being of the human. And this is what we just talked about. It does all of that because it alters, it gives you an altered state of thinking. Yes, sir.
sometimes people ask me, sometimes not go to the center with you, do I have to join? I say, no, but the choice is yours. You want it, you accept it. If you don't, you're not forced.
You can't force.
You know, I said, well, you got some people out in the center, just like you have in the street. You know, but you have to just look past that. Keep going for yourself.
Self first and foremost. If you don't take care of the self, you can't help nobody else.
Don't get disencouraged.
So, in conclusion, our system, this Islamic system, is the most awesomest thing that you can ever think of. For Allah to bless us and to allow us to see in our own selves the kind of quality or lack thereof that we should have. Let me share this with you. For the elderly to enrich their quality of life, for us elders, and to meet and to deal with what we call unforeseen difficulties, like falls that injure us, prayer is what's good. Prayer improves our endurance, in addition to giving you self-respect for what you're doing and self-confidence. And it helps you become self-reliant because you're free. The information in the Salat, it frees the mind. You mentioned about the endorphins. Endorphins and the adrenal glands or adrenaline, they cousins. Matter of fact, the adrenal glands is what produces the endorphins. The adrenaline, let me see, it secretes into the bloodstream, it stresses in the bloodstream, and it causes an acceleration of the heart. The adrenaline then produces a marked increase in the metabolic rate, thus preparing the body for emergency, fight or flight, so to speak. This is what the prayer does. This is how it influences us. The thought or the intention of performing prayer is sufficient enough to activate the sympathetic nervous system. Just the thought of it. When you know you're getting ready to make salat, it produces a feeling, especially if you're accustomed to making salat. You will experience this all the time. The sympathetic nervous system is one of the two divisions of the autonomic nervous system, which supplies the motor nerves to the smooth muscles of internal organs and also to the heart muscle. So our prayer is affecting all of this. The sympathetic nerve fibers, they arise via spinal nerves. They release mainly noradrenaline, which increases heart rate and breathing rate. It raises blood pressure and slows the digestive processes, thereby preparing the body for fight or flight. Adrenaline then can redistribute the blood in the body to the active muscles. This diminishes the fatigue in the skeletal muscles, which will initiate cardiovascular change. What we're talking about here, this is what our salat is doing. It's engaging us. This is how it's activating the body. It's to be seen. Now, our salat, it's an exercise. It induces a more effective functioning on the cell membranes. Prayer is considered to be a gentle exercise. The beneficial effects of gentle exercises on the body are really, really many, of which we're going to elaborate here. Unused muscles, they atrophy. In spite of the availability of ample proteins, but here's the difference. During the salat, the prayers, when we are praying, every muscle in the body contracts, some isotonically and others isometrically. Isotonic exercise is, say, I just tense up and push, put no object there, just imagining, but I got the same intensity in my arms as though I was pushing something. Isometric is when I use a resistance and I'm pushing off the surface, or I'm using bands, or I'm using free weights. So the point here is that our salat, the system of salat, produces this same kind of strength in our bodies, just from engaging in it. And if you don't use it, if you don't do it, you lose it. You don't use it, you lose it. If you don't practice prayer, if you don't practice the religion, what happens? You lose it. You return back to a heathen state. You become that heathen we talked about Friday, huh? Yeah, it's just that simple. See how just Allah is? Yeah, Allah is just that just. He tells the people, look, if you don't pray to me, I ain't gonna lose anything. But at the end of the day, you'll be the one to suffer because you will not have the moral content, you will not have what you need to sustain a peaceful life. You're not gonna have it. So, our prayer, when it's done properly, we get physical benefits from it that scientists are just starting to recognize. This general exercise that our prayer produces, it enhances endurance and it diminishes tiredness. You ever go to prayer tired, and by the time you finish with a few rak'ahs, you energize? This is what our salat does. It helps the incapacitated to make the most of their remnant capabilities. The blood flow is in a resting place. It's in the muscle. During the salat, during prayer, the blood flow is greatly increased to the muscle. The blood flow sometimes increases even before the start of the prayer with just the thought of performing it. The prayer, what it does, it gets a hold of what we call systolic blood pressure, which is rises. That's when your larger number in your blood pressure. And then those who perform the prayer or the salat, they find that the more rak'ahs or the more you engage into it, the flexibility in the limb comes, it becomes more. The energy picks up, it becomes more. And so to that point, the physical strength in the joint stability, and the risk of injury to the tendons and the connective tissues are reduced. After age 40, the bone mineral density falls with age. Our prayers increase bone mineral density in both menopausal and in elderly women. So our salat does that. It prevents osteoporosis. Which results in hip fractures in women after menopause and in elderly men. Osteoporosis is substantially reduced by regular salat, and it improves what? Lubrication of the joints. It improves movement, and it helps you maintain flexibility. There's a thing called deep vein thrombosis, the most common cause of ulceration of the legs. That's when you get your varicose veins and all of that stuff. And at that point, you're really running the high risk of stroke. I don't know if I shared this with you. This embolism. Yeah, yeah. Can come from sitting too long, too much. Yeah. Most of the times, that's what it's produced from the chairs, from sitting in chairs. Yeah, yeah. This is what happened to a lady. She had she flew to Dubai. That's 13 hours. She flew to Dubai. And for 10 of those 13 hours, she was in that chair. At the 10th hour, when she stood up to go to the bathroom, she fainted. Bust her fat. It did not get to the brain. It was a bubble. It stopped it. Similar case happened to an ABC reporter during the Desert Storm War. Sat in a Humvee about 15 hours. Just like in the chair, folded just like he molded to the chair. He didn't make it. His embolism trapped right in his leg, busted hard, stroke went right up to the brain. He died right there in the chair, in the seat, right there in the seat. Because he did not move, because he said look at the chair, look at the position that it puts you in. Your blood has to have free reign. What we mean by that, unrestricted. When you're sitting in the chair, your blood is banking. It's got to hit here, go down here, and hit here, and go there. Just how my arm is. So here come the blood, bam, bam, bam. Isn't it easier when it flow that way? Straight. So this is why we have to reduce our chair activity. That's why we're told after every hour sitting in the chair, just stand up. For every hour, just stand up, move around for 2, 3 minutes. You'd be surprised the health benefits you get from it. Yeah. The chairs, they're killers, and the chair is a concept that was introduced to us by the West. Go to some what they call third world countries. Most of their sitting is in a squatting position. They don't have chairs. And they say that's the most healthiest position you can be in. Sit down and squat. Because if you can hold that position, that balance, you will develop great strength from being able to do that. So this should be encouraging to us. But 360 full circle, because of our slave mentality, it's just hard for us to accept it because we are so comfortable with being a slave. Remember, in the 400 plus years of slavery, the first 100 years was the hardest because that's when most of the resistance took place. The 200, 300, 400 year part, by then, when we got into the second 100 years, those generations had become so docile, they had become so programmed that they thought that this was the norm. They didn't even try to come up with an idea of freedom. They thought this was the norm. They thought this was the condition that the Creator put them in. They just had caved into their thinking. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I went to school with, so him and I had different thoughts. So I asked him, I said, what you think about the situation? You know what he told me? I know my place. So he had a place. I said, I don't have no place.
So what he's talking about, he knew how to stay in his lane.
What you call this, segregated stuff in the South.
Mm.
So he had a place. He know where he stood. I said, I don't know where I stand.
So in essence, I get you saying he knew where to stand where he wouldn't cause trouble for massa. Okay. Okay. I get it. Yeah. But that's the power and influence of this slave experience. So it's not a misnomer when we say a person got a slave mentality. There's not another people more victimized by it than us. Yeah. There's not another ethnic group in the world more victimized by this slave stuff than us. And so this is why Allah, when we talk about where's the help and why ain't Allah doing this, and that's why he gave us the system of Al-Islam. That was the help. That was the prayer that we had been praying. This was what we had been asking for, and he gave us the system, and he told you through the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this day I have perfected your religion for you. I have named you Muslims, and your religion is Al-Islam. So Allah is telling us that. He is telling us in the very expression that there's perfection in this very thing I have established for you, that I have given to you. If you engage in it, you will get perfection in everything that you do. And what's the saying? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, anything that the Muslim engages in, we seek excellence in it. Seek to make it better. Yeah. So this is something that is it's cultivated in us. It's cultivated by way of the religion. The beauty of our prayer. So in conclusion, the prayer is a lubricant. It improves and maintains flexibility. It also helps to reduce body fat, body weight. Why and how? It might sound spooky if I don't say the rest of this. Ramadan. So when the Ramadan comes in, we're really regulated. So the food and the liquid intake, of course, you're going to have some weight loss. It's just automatic. So this is a beautiful tie-in to show you how a religious system can make you healthy and just keep you going. Just keep you going. Yeah. This prayer, our prayer, the salat, it helps prevent coronary heart disease. It increases high-density lipoproteins, which is the HDL in your cholesterol, the good cholesterol. And it also increases the maximum oxygen uptake. If you ever think about sometime while you're sluggish and you just can't seem to get it going, your blood is not oxygenated. and hydrogenated. The hydrogen you got to get through water. The oxygen you just breathe. Now, how do we know this is important to us? This is why Allah gave us H2O. You got to have so much hydrogen and you got to have so much oxygen in the body that when it mixes with the blood, this is the same way a car is designed. When the air and the gas mixture hits the car and it combusts, then it produces what? Force. And the car pistons and the car take off. They got that design from the human being. Yeah. We have to have that kind of balance so we can take off. So if you don't have that in your system, if you're not diligent and you're not conscious like we should be, i.e. eat to live, if we're not aware of these things, then we begin to suffer poor health. So, our salat slows the heart, lowers the BP, slightly decreases ventricular ectopic activity. It enlarges the lumen of the coronary arteries and increases cardiac output. That's doctor talk. I know that might have went over you.
Getting the right flow, then you get the right oxygen.
You sure do. You sure do. So even let me say this at the risk of saying to those who don't particularly care for exercise, keep praying. If you ain't going to the gym, just keep praying. The subtle effects of our prayer is going to see you through. It's going to see you through. It's an exercise. So anytime you're doing things that's of an exercise nature, you're going to improve your carbohydrate tolerance. You're going to improve the late onset of diabetes. You're going to help the cases of chronic respiratory diseases. You're going to keep them at bay. The changes have been recorded in the lipid profile, which is the blood pressure, clotting factors, weight reduction, and insulin sensitivity of muscles and other tissues in persons who exercise regularly, i.e., who pray regularly. So, the salat is your doctor, and Ramadan is your medicine. Yes.
Your lipid profile is your HDL and LDL,
Yes.
high HDL. low.
And yes. Yeah, because what high cholesterol does, it clots the arteries, puts plaque in the arteries, restricts the flow of blood. Next thing you know, you're stroking out or having a heart attack as a result of it. So it's a known fact that then exercise improves mood, thought, and behavior. Exercise, i.e. our salat, it improves the quality of life. It reduces anxiety and depression. It influences mood favorably and contributes to self-esteem and self-confidence. It improves memory in the elderly, especially with constant repetition of ayats from the glorious Quran. This constant repetition of Quranic ayats would help to screen the mind from incoming thoughts. It has been found by Harvard University research, Dr. Herbert Benson, that the repetition of a prayer, ayat of the Quran, or remembrance, dhikr of Allah, or muscular activity, coupled with passive disregard of intensive thoughts, causes a relaxation response that leads to the lowering of blood pressure and decreases in oxygen consumption and a reduction in heart and respiratory rates. All these are combined in our prayer, especially during Tariq prayer. So this is really the talk on how Tariq prayer affects it, but I'm giving it a general application that if you pray regularly, you will still get these benefits. These are more pronounced during Tariq. Question, comment.
Getting the same if we're saying our salat in English, the same benefit.
Allah give you benefit, but just keep in mind that's why he wants us to use the Quranic language, because it's going to be better. You're going to fare well in the English, but you're going to be better if you do it in Arabic. And this is why to that point we're told recite it even if you don't know it. Most of the times we're being led by an imam in salat. We don't know all the surahs. Sometimes you recite surahs I don't know most of the times. But we're told what? Follow it in your mind anyway. Listen. Stay connected. And I don't know if you've been told this, but you should be repeating what you hear even if you stumble over it in your mind, because that helps keep the thoughts out of your mind, the distracting thoughts. When you're uttering the Quranic words or you're reciting that which the imam or the person leading the prayers is reciting, then this is going to help secure your mind from evading thoughts. You're focused, you're concentrated. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he says, move your lips. There are parts of the prayer that are what? Inaudible, right? But you still can't pray like this. Can't do it. You must move your lips. The scientists have proven that the movement of the lips enhances memory. Just movement of the lips, reciting the words to yourself inwardly enhances the memory and makes the retention of the subject matter greater. So, our prayer, which is an exercise, it improves the quality of life, taking out anxiety and depression, influences moods favorably, and contributes to self-esteem and self-confidence. And once again, it improves the memory, especially in the elderly. The calm state of mind when Allah revealed this knowledge to us, then the wicked man stepped our father and said, "Ooh, you mean we have natural things in us? We have a natural high?" He said, "Nah, I can't be satisfied with that." So he goes and he puts his chemical together to give you and help you induce the artificial high they call alcohol. So that's how it came about. And once again, it came about from man having a God complex and thinking that he can put you in the same state of being spiritually and mentally if he was to give you a substance that he created himself. And we all know this not to be true. We see them doing this constantly and constantly. If you're watching a lot of stuff on YouTube, the commercials that come in, it's all about a pill. They got a pill for everything. They got a pill to tell you not to take the pill. That's all they just pushing. They just pushing. It's just madness, and it's all lies. They didn't got so good with the AI, and they push this stuff, and for the most part, it's all lies. So, Islam, in conclusion, is the only religion where physical movement of salat are combined with the spiritual exercise. When the salat is practiced throughout a person's life, recurring every few hours or so, it trains a person to undertake the difficult task of meditation doing physical maneuvers, during the salat. And so what we need to understand, if we need more encouragement, understand this. The Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, was big on health, very big on health. He was very athletic. As the history shows, he loved foot races. He was of the best of combatants in terms of swordsmanship and archery.
Swimming.
And swimming, yeah. All of these things he practiced, and when the report or the descriptions that had been given throughout history about how he looks, he is described as being fit. They say he was fit. And we didn't have no gyms back then, so how did he get fit? From all of the activities that we just mentioned. By constantly and repetitively doing those things, you become fit. So, the next time you think about sitting in the chair for prayer, think about all the good exercise you're going to be missing out on. And I know we all going to reach a point, myself included, where we might be relegated to praying in the chair. But if you have any ability left in you at all, work it. Try to make some of the prayers without the chair. And for those of us who got the bad knees, I'm gonna tell you a little secret how I did this. I put a chair on each side and lower myself down into Jalsa and make the sajda, and you come back up and you grab each side of the chair and you push yourself back up stand back up, and now you back into your qiyam, and you start your prayer. I can almost guarantee you that after a few days, a few weeks of this, you become independent of the chair. The leg strength comes back. The balance comes back, because a lot of things that we experience as we get older, we become imbalanced. You become imbalanced. The salat will give it back to you. The salat makes you conscious of it, because you can't perform the salat without balance. If you lean to one side too much, you're going to fall out of the regimen of the salat, the posture. You're gonna fall off of it. You're not gonna have the balance. If you try to go down and make sajda and do it with one hand, or do it in the way that's not prescribed, it's not gonna work. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna smash your face into the floor. You're gonna sustain some kind of injury. So to that point, we must understand, we got to believe that the prayer is specifically designed for that. Allah gave us this thing. It's a wonderful, divine tool of intervention, and I don't think we could ask for anything better. So we're done with that, dear believers. Even though we had more time on the clock left, we are done. I think I've covered everything. If anybody got any questions, I know sometimes we don't get a chance to field questions from the audience, but if you have some, this would be a time to assert that question, because other than that, I'm going to close out with my short dua. Then our resident imam, he's going to come up and give some comments and talk to you all about some upcoming events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we thank you for the time and for allowing us to come before you. We hope that the information is always, we like to say, we pray that it's good and beneficial. That any belongs to me. Just tell me so I can go back and redo my research, and I'll gladly do it. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Our Lord, let our hearts not become perverse or divided, but guide us and grant us the mercies from your own self, for only you can grant the best of mercies without measure. Amen.
Now,
Yes.
Amir, there are on YouTube some exercises that you
You praying by yourself, because for some reason, and it's one of the things I always try to make a person aware of before the prayer. You got to divest yourself of time. This ain't important. Once you go into salat, because I've seen people do this. And so, look, that ain't important. What's really so important that you have to look at your watch, and you in a relationship with your Lord. You in one-on-one with your Lord, and you thinking about a time, which means there's something else. That time is related to something else. It's not related to the prayer at hand. Yeah. So that's the first thing you want to do. Divest yourself of any consciousness of time. And when you come into the prayer, do it the way that you are satisfied. And what I mean by that, you should feel a certain amount of peace. You shouldn't feel rushed. You should feel completed after you've done your salat. You should feel an achievement, an accomplishment after you've done your salat. If you get up out of all those movements and all of that utterance of those words, and it didn't impact you, it didn't influence you, you don't have even a different mood, I don't know what to tell you. You might have been praying to the devil. I don't know what to tell you. That's all I can say. But it's that serious. So, Brother Imam, you are going to come. You got some parting words for us too?
Yeah, I'm just going to. Y'all can have the next.
I forgot to read that quote I wanted to read to you, but I'll do it another time. It really had to do with, it was because I didn't get a chance to cite it during the Juma. It had to do with when I led the Juma Friday, I spoke of I spoke from Surah 62:9, Juma.
Right.
Yeah, ayat 9. And that ayat really is important. It has great emphasis and meaning for us while Allah is explaining and telling us the whole reason why he's calling us to the prayer, telling you to leave your business. Yeah. So there was I had some notes, some commentary from Imam that I want to share with that. So we'll do it another time. We'll do it another time.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammadan Rasulullah. For Allah's name, the merciful being, in fact, the merciful Redeemer. I witness there is nothing to be worshipped except Allah, and I witness that Muhammad is Allah's messenger and his servant. And we'd like to thank Imam Tamir for that beautiful, very informative presentation on health, both the body, the mind, the physical, and the moral health. It's something that we hope we'll be able to take in and try to put it in our life as best as we can. So we have a few announcements here. First of all, it's a certificate of appreciation. It's massage help. Is that how you pronounce it, sister? Massage help? A certificate of appreciation is hereby granted to Eastern Bahar Islamic Center in recognition of allowing us to provide chair massage and arm therapy for the Ummah during our Florida Board, formal California Council, and in Illinois last year anniversaries. By Sister Zarifa Muhammad. I'm not sure about the date. There's a numbers behind what those. Yeah, I'm looking at these numbers after that, after your name. Oh, that's your license number. Oh, January 4, 2026. And we're into 2026. So thank you very much. Very, very beautiful. Here we have some announcement, empowering this. Okay, we just completed that. Our Islamic Center Perspective Hour, which just completed by Imam Tamir. We thank you for your charitable donation. Of course, you can make your donation here to Ibn Bahar Culture Center, EBCC. You can donate online at ebaharcenter.com, to our webpage, as well as any donation. If you make it in person, we do have our Cash App. We don't have Zelle set up yet, but you can always mail your contribution in at 2525 West 71st Street, Chicago, Illinois 60629. And we have our goods. We also, our products. We have the canned sardine, the shea butter, laundry detergent, tissue paper, as well as different snacks we sell here at the Bahar Center. We also have the halal meats. We don't have the patties yet. We still haven't been able to secure those patties, but we do have some of the links yet. We call African chicken sausages. You also have chicken wings as well as whole chickens. And we also have the halal beef bacon. Our bookstore, we encourage you to support our bookstore. You can browse through our comprehensives to collect the books. We have many books on Imam Muhammad that he has put out by Imam Ronald Shaheed. All the books that are, from that time in the history where Brother Imam Ronald Shaheed, Brother Imam Ghani in Morocco sat down with Imam Muhammad for about 3 years, compiling information, and now he's publishing these books. And the latest one is The Treasure Beneath the Wall. And actually, we're giving it to order some now. We're going to order 10 books. We're going to order 10 books, and I think I have collecting money for about at least five of those books. So we have confirmed orders for 5. So if anybody would like to purchase from, once we get them, see me or Imam Omar, put your name on the list. And the book is $55. But that treasure beneath the wall. I have when I started reading, I'm just in the introductory page. It's kind of difficult to read different books. And by the time you get into one, another one's out. So it's very interesting. So it keeps your mind busy. It keeps mind busy. You know, I'm always reading because if you come over to my house, not inviting anybody to come over, but if you happen to come here, I got books in my living room, books in the dining room, books in my study room, just books, you know. And one of the things about reading, long time ago, it was concerning one of our children, and a wife was, she was, it was something that had to do with his performance in school. And one of my sons, older sons, and then lady came over to interview my wife and talk to her. And she said she looked around, she talked to my wife, she said she looked around and told her wife, she said, I don't see any books around. She didn't see any books in the house. So that told her something that, when you don't see a lot of books in a person's house, they don't do a lot of reading. So she encouraged him, she encouraged my wife to engage, try to get the children engaged, or this particular son engaged in reading. And right now, that's all he do is reading. I think he read more than I do. I think so. Because he's already, the thing about it, you don't really read a lot of books, you just read a lot of stuff, but he do read some books. So, and that's good. Reading, the old saying, readers are leaders. So it's very good. So I found myself, because I remember when I was in third grade, I could not read. Basically, sitting in third grade as an 8 or 9-year-old child, you can't read. And every fifth word, you got to be told what that word is. And you didn't know what it means. So I got to a point, and I even got into high school, I can barely read. So after I got out of high school, I went to some college, and I found myself becoming more and more engaged in reading. So right now, especially since I've become a Muslim, and I studied some of the things, a lot of the information that Imam Muhammad has published, I just engaged into it, and I found myself doing a lot of reading because it is very healthy. It's healthy, help your mind make strong, may be informed. So encourage us, all of us, to do more reading, and then you find yourself doing research and how to do research. And Imam Muhammad has taught us how to actually accurately do research. And Imam Tamir, you can see that I was talking to him once. He said, I'm a researcher. He said he does research. In other words, you find things in history that you're able to connect with what you're talking about and what you're doing in your presentation. And that's the way the Imam Muhammad does it. So Muslim Journal, we encourage all of us to support the Muslim Journal. And the last thing we want to talk about is the sick and shut in. We won't mention all those names, but we encourage all of us to visit the believers that are not able to get out through this, sick and shut in, those who are, the mobility is limited. So if you can't get to, go out and see them, at least give them a call. So we thank everyone. Zarisa Muhammad was that EL's first Illinois massage therapy license anniversary teacher, January 6th. What's that going on? January 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
That's a Muslim Parent Circulation Center.
I guess so.
And it should have been one for here too.
Yeah, okay, I'll just reading what I have here. Okay, anyway. There also a massage therapy awareness week on 12, okay, that's gone, 12:30, that's, okay, to 12:20, from 12:30 to January 5th, which is tomorrow, at the additional day complimentary chair massage, gift certificate, how do you pronounce it? Aroma? Aroma. Okay, aroma therapy. Okay, neck, back pain prevention, massage, diagnostics device, consultation, and massage techniques. Okay, that's at the Muslim Journal Circulation Center, Brownsville. I guess it's Brownsville, Illinois. In Brownsville, 227 East 51st Street in Chicago. That's in Chicago. Never heard of that street. Oh, the circulation in Brown. Okay, I'm thinking that Brownsville. Okay, yeah, I know Brownville. That's over there in Brownsville, Illinois. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I thought I was reading that. I was thinking it's in Brownville, Illinois. I never heard of that street. I mean that town, but that's Brownville. Yeah, we heard of Brownville. So yeah, that's going to be it for now. So anybody have any questions on what we just read?
That's all you have an announcement?
Yes. Mhm.
Have you mentioned a pioneer? The sixth shut-in?
I didn't go into mention the names. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that, we got Ramadan is supposedly coming up on us.
Roughly about a month and a half. Mhm.
Conversations that have topics on Ramadan for encouragement and for understanding. But we also want to prepare for, as we go through Ramadan, and we want to prepare for the end of Ramadan. And what I'm asking is that we, begin to purchase gifts, toys for our young people, for our Eid celebration, and, toys for our, and also gifts for, our pioneers also, you know. So what I did, I started purchasing small stuff. This is a really, really fun toy for young people. And it's not cheap. It costs about $30. I got about 5 of them and whatnot, you know, to start off with, you know, collecting things for young people. So when we get here, you know, we want to have a really, really
Festive celebration.
you know, our celebration is supposed to mean something, because it's not like anything that happens in the world. You know, it has more power than Christmas or any other holiday season. It's just not popularized, you know, in America. But it has a power that it gives us when people, with your friends come and sit back and say, man, I don't know how you all can go without eating. Oh, you should stop that. You're gonna hurt yourself and all that kind of stuff. It gives you a power that nobody else has. So when we end it, we want to celebrate it. And we want to celebrate it in a spirit of brotherhood and loving and kindness and generosity and whatnot, you know? So, you know, the prophet says that if you do one good act of a deed, then he'll multiply this 10 times, you know? So I'm just trying to be ahead of what's going on and encouraging us, and we want to keep pushing this. Every time we put the announcements out, we want to push this, our Ramadan toy drive and our gift drive for our pioneers, that we can give everybody. You know what I'm saying? Not just to say we want to give to one another, but we just want to be a giving people. And not just that, you know, we might not have our property over there, everything finished and fixed. And, you know, alhamdulillah, you know, people have given us alternatives. We have been invited by Imam Tariq, we've been invited by Imam Dennis, you know, to be able to use facilities. But we have 2 properties. I don't know if you all know that. Do y'all know we got 2 properties? Yeah, I know.
So we got 2 addresses.
It's 2525. This address right here is 2523. So we have another property that we can go into, 2523. All right, and we can still continue to do our activities, thank Allah and whatnot, you know. So we have not been shut down. The city has not told us we couldn't do that. We on our own. They didn't tell us that we couldn't use that side over this here. Imam Lawrence shut that side down.
That's what they told me.
But I talked to the city. I talked to them. They didn't tell us that we had to shut that side down over there. All right.
Wait.
So we still have use to it, but because of that, we said, you know what, let's just shut it down and we'll just use this side here. So I'm just saying, and also, I have met with a contractor yesterday. So he said, if if he can get a permit, then he'll do the work. So he said, try to file for the permit, and if he can get the permit, then we do the work, you know. So we have to, this is the process we in right now. We're in the process of trying to now find somebody who can do the work. All right, I put it in the hands of the adjuster, and I didn't feel comfortable with him. I felt like he was just trying to get money. People telling us, you know, that he want to knock down a whole wall across the face and all these, no, man, we just need a repair.
Yeah, we
That's
need
what
more
we
than
need.
one estimate, maybe to,
Oh, yeah, we have, but so we got one. I mean, so far we got one,
okay,
but now the biggest thing is finding the contract.
all right, yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Mm.
So,
Finding the honest contract.
yes,
Right.
finding an honest contractor. So, I'm asking you all, that if you all to help find, license. Hold up, I talked to, Brother Omar, he said he knew somebody, but they haven't got with us yet.
Mhm.
We need licensed